Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're listening from. My name is Adriana from www.englishteacheradriana.com, and today I'm joined with Renata from Renata English.
Hey everyone.
And today we'll be talking about nonverbal communication. Now, this conversation is a great way for you to hear two native English speakers speaking naturally in English. Together, we'll be talking about how we communicate with our body, with our eyes, with our mouths, with body language to speak and express ourselves in English. Now, we're focusing on this topic, nonverbal communication, as this week in the WhatsApp Speaking Club, we'll be working through the lesson sets focusing on grammar, reading, listening, speaking, writing skills to help you build the fundamentals to learn English so that you can use these new expressions, these new phrases and grammatical phrases when speaking in our daily conversational classes in the WhatsApp Speaking Club. All the details as to how you can join us in the WhatsApp Speaking Club are found on my website at www.englishteacheradriana.com. Okay, let's get straight into today's topic. Remember guys, just to listen, pay attention to any new phrases, feel free to take down any notes, and let's get on with it. Renata, how are you today?
Fantastic. How are you?
Good, thank you. Okay, nonverbal communication. This seems a little bit technical in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, but when you put it like that, non-verbal communication, that sounds so technical. But when you just say body language, I feel like that sounds much less technical.
Interesting. Okay. And this week you've gone through this week's lesson set. What is body language and nonverbal communication in your opinion?
In my opinion, body language and nonverbal communication, it's kind of like the same thing. It's when you talk, it's when you communicate but without talking. So you communicate by maybe a look on your face or how you move your hands or how you're standing, how close you're standing to someone or something like that. Or if you give them eye contact or not. Just everything related to communication, but that isn't talking.
Interesting. Okay. I think of the same things when I think of nonverbal communication. But so we're both born in Australia, raised, went to school there, and we're both living abroad. Do you think that there's any... Okay, first of all, there are many differences when we've moved abroad. Language, for example, customs, culture. But what do you think about how people interact with you with their body language here? Is there anything strange that has happened to you maybe, or...
I wouldn't say very strange, but I would say that here in Croatia compared to Australia, that here in Croatia that people use body language much more. Like you'd see them moving their arms around a lot more and just communicating more non-verbally as opposed to in Australia. In Australia, I feel like they don't use their hands as much when they're talking. They just say what they need to say. They don't move their hands around a lot. Do you reckon? Have you noticed that difference?
Yeah, I think so. I think it depends also on the type of... Generally in Australia, people don't communicate as much as people do here in Europe with their hands. But while we're talking now...
I know, she's just moving her hands so much. So she's communicating with her hands there too. But I think we're just used to it too. You always communicate with your hands, don't you?
Yeah, I always use my hands. I can't sit there and talk and not use my hands. Now, my hands are going everywhere.
Yeah.
And
no, I'm the same. I remember once I was walking with my other sister, Anita. Shout out to you, Anita, if you're listening. She's probably not, but oh well. Anyways, so I was walking on the street here, like on the side of the street, on the footpath, and we were talking. And I didn't notice it, but we were using our hands a lot. But we always use our hands a lot when we talk. And my uncle was in the car, and he saw us talking, and then he saw us the next day, and he said to me, "What were you doing, fighting with someone?" Because it looked like we were punching the air or something because we were using our hands so much. So yeah, it is natural for me too, but I think maybe we just grew up like that.
But okay, and like now while we're recording this, you're not using your hands, but yeah. I am. But would you say, I know that maybe you're a little bit nervous in this situation, but maybe are you more conscious if you're with Anita, our other sister? Shout out Anita if you are listening to this, really. We love you and miss you, darling. Anyway, but what's the name? Would you be using your hands so much in formal situations?
No, when I'm like what you just said, when I'm more anxious or when I'm not completely comfortable, I don't think I'd use my hands that much. Like now, I'm kind of fidgeting a bit because I'm a bit nervous because I know it's being recorded. But when I'm more relaxed, then tend to use my hands more, and that's when you see my more natural state of non-verbal communication, I would say. How about for you? Would you use your hands? I think you use your hands all the time, don't you? You're just comfortable in every situation.
Yeah, I use my hands a lot. Uh, or if I'm not using my hands, I need to hold a pen or just
Yeah.
have something in my hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do tend to use my hands a lot. But if I am holding a presentation or if I'm doing, like when I'm recording a video, you don't see me using my hands so much. But if I was standing up somewhere speaking, then I'd make sure to have a pen or I'd be more conscious to stop using my hands so much unless I was explaining something in detail.
Why? Do you think it's a bad thing to be moving your hands around a lot? You
I
just
don't-
said you'd stop it, that's why.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes I feel that I use my hands because I'm unable to express myself the way that I'd like it to be expressed. So then instead of, I focus more on what I'm going to say, I try to make pauses so that I can express myself without using my hands, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it looks more. I like the way. I like it when people use their hands. It looks more professional. Like it looks like they're fully committed to the speech that they're giving. You know, and so I think it's a good thing. Unless you overdo it. You know, unless you're completely moving your hands around everywhere, that's not good.
Maybe I think about it. You know, when you meet some people and they don't say anything, but they use their hands too much, and they don't have a wide range of vocabulary. That's why when I'm holding presentations, I try to focus more on the words, so I don't come across as a person that's not using enough words to convey my message. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I guess I've just never thought of it like that. But what about you? Have you had any strange kind of experiences with body language?
Yes.
What really? Which ones?
Personal space.
Oh, that's true. When they come so close to you, people and they just like, yeah.
And they touch you.
Yeah.
Like,
But I think that depends on culture too. You know, some people in their culture, they're used to like, you know, always just like touching you and stuff. Like
Renata just touched me and I cringed. I'm like, don't touch me.
but like a pat on the shoulder or something, you know. I remember when I was working customer service in Melbourne, I would say Australian culture, it's not really, would you say it's normal to kind of touch people or not really? What do you think?
Not really, no. But
Yeah.
sometimes, you know, now I can picture myself being at the airport and,
Yeah.
you know, in customer service. And if it was a lady at about 50 to 60 years old, she's friendly, like I wouldn't take it the wrong way and I'd understand.
Yeah.
But it's not that bad.
Yeah, but you can tell some cultures use body language much more, you know. So if I used to work at the airport and there was all different cultures people from different cultures coming through, and you can tell that say some people from Europe, they have no problem, you know, giving you a pat on the shoulder or like, I don't know, touching your hands or something. That's just normal to them. But then you can see other people that like are more subtle about it. They don't like to do that at all. They respect your private space.
Yeah, and for me, one of the biggest things here was, you know, when you go to meet somebody for the first time, even in a friend place or even in a work setting, and when they come so close to you. So I don't really have a problem if someone touches me, but then they take 2 steps back. But if they're touching me and then they just won't get out of my face, and they're always like a meter close to me, like now me and Renata are sitting relatively close, but we're sort of like keeping our distance. But if we were just glued together, I wouldn't feel comfortable with you. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't like it either. I like my own personal space. I can't be that close to somebody either.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess maybe it shows something about their personality. What do you think that means about their personality?
I don't think it shows any. Well, it does show something about their personality, but I think it's just the way that they communicate, that they're warm, that they're friendly,
Maybe.
and that they care. But for me, it's a little bit too much for some. It's too much.
Yeah, you know, that reminds me of this YouTube video that I was watching. I don't know how I ended up on this video, but you see these people working for the FBI, you know, and they can tell straight away, like if you're lying or if you have a relationship with somebody, or they can tell so many things just by your body language, just by the way that you act, you know, how close you're standing to the person, if you're looking at them directly, that type of thing, which is really amazing how much you can tell by just body language.
Yeah, I think that there are studies. I'm not an expert at this, but yeah, I think people can really. If you are listening and if you are an expert, feel free to let us know what we're missing here. But I know that it is weird. In Australia, people don't stand so close. I wouldn't touch. If you're in Australia, don't stand so close to people. Give people about a meter distance. Don't stare. Don't.
Yes, staring. That's a huge. In Australia, nobody stares.
Nobody stares.
Yeah, everyone. I hate going in the trams and the buses because everyone stares at you. As soon as you walk into the room, everyone's looking you up and down and just staring at you. And to me, that's so rude. I don't like that at all.
Do you know what? I just start staring back.
Yeah,
I love it.
That's so. Me and my sister, my other sister, we were in the tram and some lady was just looking at us, and my other sister just stares back, and to make her feel uncomfortable, because it's I don't like it at all.
I don't understand, like, especially in a public place. So, for example, with these people, we have no communication with them. This is purely non-verbal communication.
Yeah.
And with somebody I probably won't even communicate with in spoken or written form.
Yeah.
For me, that's weird. In Australia, that's weird. In Australia, if you're on the public transport, everybody minds their own business.
Yeah, but maybe we just notice it so much because in Australia it's so different. Nobody really stays there, and then when we come here, we notice it so much. Whereas people that have lived here their whole lives, they don't really notice it as much. But you know what this reminds me of also? Eye contact. So like when you speak, I see that you always give me eye contact, and like which is a good thing, but I can't do it. I'm looking like at the window right now. I can't look at someone while I'm speaking. I don't know why. I just don't have that confidence to look at somebody in the eye 24/7.
What do you mean you don't have that confidence?
I don't know. When I look at someone in the eye and I see that they're looking at me, I just feel like, I don't know, my confidence just goes away. Which is strange, I know, but I can't do it. Like I try as much as I can to look at them in the eye, but I always find myself looking somewhere else. It's just, I feel much more confident like that. Maybe because I'm not really a good public speaker.
Interesting. I always try to make an effort when I'm speaking to somebody to make eye contact.
That's
and hold,
good. Mm-hmm.
so that it's interest. So to show interest, and I don't know, if you know me, if I'm not interested in someone, I pretty much tell them to their face.
Yeah.
And then I don't know.
No,
maybe.
that's a good thing though. Like I want to be more like that. But I try, like when someone's talking to me, of course, I'm going to always look at them, and that maybe not now at the moment, just because I don't know, it's a bit awkward. But for when I talk to someone, I don't know, I always see myself looking somewhere else while I'm talking, and then people go and turn their heads and look there. They're like, "Oh, what are you looking at?" Nowhere. I'm just trying to not look at your face.
That's nice. Great. So, guys, while we're recording this, Renata's just not trying to look at my face. No, jokes aside, guys. So for me, I'm consciously aware. It's just habit. I look at people in the eye. I don't think about it, but especially if I am recording something like this, or if I am talking to someone, I do try to make eye contact. But it's interesting that I'm aware of this, but Renata's also observed and noticed from me that I maintain eye contact. So if you are listening and you're thinking, okay, should you make eye contact? Shouldn't you make eye contact? Think about it. Observe other people. How do they interact? Do you want to interact like them? Do you not want to interact like them? And then start using and applying these methods. Again, I'm a little bit older than Renata. I've been teaching for a little bit longer than her. And also, yes, just a bit older than you. She just mouthed a bit. But the main thing is when you are listening to other English speakers, pay attention also to their nonverbal communication so that you can also apply this and copy them. There's nothing wrong in copying people and developing. You are improving yourself. This will improve your speaking skills, your public speaking skills, both in your native and in the English language. Okay, to wrap it up, Renata, do you have any tips for anybody out there listening?
Try keep eye contact, but not so much eye contact. Don't just be staring at people, especially in Australia. It's not normal. That's it.
Really, guys, that's my tip as well. Don't be staring at public transport, people. We hate it. We hate it. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. We really appreciate it. You've listened to me, Adriana, from EnglishTeacherAdriana.com, and
Renata from Renata English on Instagram.
Excellent. If you do have any future topics you'd like us to go through, feel free to create an Insta story, tag both me, English with Adriana, and Renata English, so that we can see your topic. Any feedback, feel free to share it with us on Instagram, Also, if you love this podcast, please give it a review on iTunes. At the moment, we have 7 lonely reviews up there, 7 but lovely reviews. We'd love to hear if you hated this podcast, if you loved it, and also give us any feedback so that we can improve for future lessons. To continue learning with us, to get support and guidance and motivation you deserve to drastically improve your confidence speaking in English, make sure to check out the WhatsApp Speaking Club over on my website at www.englishteacheradriana.com. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next time. Bye for now.